Asian leaders meeting in Bangkok are discussing what could become the world's biggest trade deal. Thailand says the next steps in the proposal, backed by China, will be made in the coming hours. There were last-minute doubts about the deal after India raised concerns over cheaper Chinese products. The US President, Donald Trump, didn't attend the meeting, but he has invited ASEAN leaders to a special summit early next year. Scott Heidler has more now from the summit in Bangkok.
What could be the largest free trade agreement in the world was the focus on this last day of the ASEAN summit here in Bangkok. This is something that's been going on for the last several years. It's going to involve the 10 nations of ASEAN and 6 other nations who are here negotiating over the last several days. Now, initially, there were some mixed messages. The Thai Commerce Minister said that there might be a large announcement at the end of ASEAN summit's meetings on Monday. And then there was a little bit of a walking back by the Australian counterpart, who's also part of these negotiations, saying that they're moving forward, but there's not going to be a big announcement. Now, this is something we know that was a bit of a prickly point over the weekend. India, who is one of the members, 16 nations a part of this negotiation, they had some issues. So that kind of put a bit of a stumbling block into it. It sounds like things are moving forward, but we're not going to hear anything definite or finite out of the meetings here in Bangkok. Also, another focus on Monday, the last day of these summits, and that is the American delegation. Now, this was a downgrade. Last year, Vice President Mike Pence was here. This year, the top member of the American delegation is the Commerce Secretary. So that wasn't received too well by the other nations here. In fact, the meeting, the summit with ASEAN members and the U.S. delegation, 7 of those nations sent a downgrade as well of representation to those meetings. But amid all this, amid this criticism, President Donald Trump, through the people here for the United States, said that he's inviting them ASEAN members, to a special summit in Washington, D.C. early next year.
European Union leaders will press China to deliver on its trade promises at an exhibition in Shanghai this week. Advisors to the French President Emmanuel Macron say there'll be a push for China to grant more access to foreign companies. China is currently the EU's biggest source of imports. It's also the EU's second biggest export market after the United States. China sends mostly machinery, clothing and shoes to the EU, while the EU's main exports to China are industrial goods, cars, planes, mechanical equipment. On average, it amounts to China and the EU trading more than $1.1 billion every day. Jacques Rellon is a senior research fellow at the Global Policy Institute. He says Macron will be hoping to level the playing field with Beijing.
He hopes to get an agreement on investment. At the moment, European investment in China are not well protected, and access to public procurement markets is not respected. European companies can't bid for public markets, while Chinese companies are bidding for public markets in Europe. So he's going to hope to push these negotiations on a trade deal on these lines, which is meant to be completed next year, and hopes to make some advances on that field, as well as at the same time he's going to try to promote the interests of French companies. But the most important thing for Macron is to show that France is only a European country, and that's why he's bringing with him Phil Hogan, who is a European Commissioner. He was European Commissioner for Agriculture and will be the European Commissioner for Trade, to show that European countries must deal with China as part of the European Union and not as single countries if they want to get a fair deal.